collaboration between African countries remains pivotal in stimulating and building socio-economic and political ties. This has been the case between Zimbabwe and Rwanda. And on today's episode of The Diplomat Couch, we are joined by the Rwandan ambassador to Zimbabwe, His Excellency Mr. James MUSONI. My name is Osli Muringai and welcome to The Diplomat Couch. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
So my first question, being an ambassador means institutionally representing Rwanda in other states. How long have you been doing this job and what birthed that passion for being a diplomat?
Thank you so much. I'm now completed 4 years as an ambassador here in Zimbabwe, and that's when I started my career in diplomacy. I started it from here. But for sure I was part of, I was working for government for now it's almost 3 decades. So, yeah, but the diplomatic assignment is a continuation of the job you do for your government, but specifically when you become a representative of a country in another country, certainly there are some new challenges and opportunities you meet. So I would say that being an ambassador, you were required to foster a relationship between your country and the host country. You are supposed to support Rwandans or the people of your country who are residing in that country. So I would say that it is quite exciting and it's a wonderful job.
And you mentioned that you've been in Zimbabwe for 4 years. So what is your general impression about Zimbabwe and the people of Zimbabwe?
Well, Zimbabwe is a great country. It's a great country, country of I would say a country of so many smiles. People are very nice, very welcoming, an open environment, and compared with our country, we know in Rwanda we say it's a country of 1,000 smiles. Thousands of smiles when you meet people. So, but in terms of geographical location, it's not far from my country, the climate. So Zimbabwe again has a historical background of resistance, of liberation. And you see this in the people of Zimbabwe. Even when they face challenges, they are able to face them and find a solution. So I would say that it's a great country with great people.
Thank you for that. And in a move to spur Zimbabwe and Rwanda's relations to greater heights, how do you envision the relations and cooperation, let's say, in the next decade?
Yeah, first of all, the baseline today. If we are looking at next decade, you would start with the baseline, where we are today. Rwanda and Zimbabwe relationship, I would say, is very cordial in diplomatic, economic, as well as people-to-people relationship. So I would say that today, I would characterize the relationship as very good and excellent. So going forward, in the next 10 years and beyond, I would say we can only build on this good relationship and continue to add value to what exists. But I will see more people-to-people relationship, more Zimbabweans visiting Rwanda, working in Rwanda, more Rwandans coming here, and both countries supporting each other at bilateral and even at regional and multilateral level.
And from what you've observed in Zimbabwe, what would you say to investors and entrepreneurs who would like to invest in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, Zimbabwe is a country full of very good investment opportunities, and the framework exists of cooperation between Rwanda and Zimbabwe in terms of economic cooperation. Private sector actors have also established their cooperation framework. So here in Zimbabwe, there are opportunities in the different sectors: agriculture, mining, manufacturing, services, tourism. So I would say that opportunities are enormous, and cooperation framework provides a good environment for Rwandans and the others to take advantage of that and invest here.
And since you've said that we provide a good framework, Zimbabwe is hinged on the mantra, open for business. So to what extent is Rwanda taking advantage of this mutually beneficial mantra?
That principle of Zimbabwe being open for business is real. We see it because you remember last year we hosted business community from Rwanda. They came here, and this was a return of Zimbabwean investors who were also in Rwanda 2021. And I would say that our two presidents, His Excellency President Paul Kagame and His Excellency President E.D. Mnangagwa, they have set high standards in terms of private sector actors to take advantage of this framework. So they were hosted by our president in Rwanda, and here they were hosted by President Mnangagwa. So from there, I've seen very good interest from Rwandan business community coming here to establish business opportunities. Some have already registered, others are about. Others have identified areas where they can export or import to Rwanda. Likewise, we see the same in Zimbabweans on the other side going into Rwanda.
Thank you. We'll discuss further when we come back on how these relations and investors from both countries are building relations when we return in the second segment. Welcome back to the Diplomat Couch, where today we're joined by His Excellency, the Ambassador of Rwanda to Zimbabwe, James MUSONI. Before we were discussing about relations between Zimbabwean and Rwandan investors, so what are your expectations in developing these relationships and mutually beneficial cooperation between Rwanda and Zimbabwe?
Our presidents have set the bar high, and they want us to do more and achieve a lot for the mutual benefit of our peoples. So when it comes to private actors, today I would say that institutions, government institutions like here, ZIDA, Zimtrade, their counterparts on the other side, Rwanda Development Board, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, and counterparts in Rwanda, and our Ministry of Energy, and their counterparts here, have signed a number of agreements and MOUs to facilitate business community from both countries to freely do their business. At the same time, private sector organizations like Zimbabwe Confederation of Industries, ZNCC, and the Rwanda Private Sector Federation have also signed different MOUs. So what this has helped us to achieve is for exchange of information, exchange of knowledge, continuous collaboration, arranging trips and others. So our expectation today is now to see on ground in both countries movement of goods and services, investors coming here to have the number increasing, the same on the other side, and our trade volumes to also increase. You know, we have Rwanda flying here, so it's just 2.5 hours. So it is easy for people to do business between two countries. So our expectation this year and beyond is to see the growth of both investment and trade.
Okay. And then earlier you alluded to the Zimbabwe-Rwanda Trade and Investment Conference. Is this going to be an annual initiative?
Yes. The whole concept is for just to have a reciprocal arrangement where one year you have it in one country and another in the other country. And so far, so good, because it started in September 2021. It happened in Rwanda. Last year, it happened here. So we are organizing this year another one in Rwanda. And we expect private sector actors to be more innovative and make sure that they make use of these frameworks and follow to grow their trade and investment opportunity, engagements.
And what's your take on the African continental free trade, especially on the attainment of sustainable development goals in Africa?
Yeah, I think this is one of the great achievements our leaders on this continent have achieved, because, you know, when you look at the trade relationship between ourselves as Africans and the trade relations with other continents, you find that right from the colonial time, it was designed in such a way that we relate with our colonial masters more than we ourselves can collaborate, and therefore creating that dependence syndrome permanently. But first of all, if we try and make sure that we as Africans first collaborate, build that economic relationship, build trade and investment relationship, and be able to deal with the rest of the world as a continent. This will give us an upper hand in the relationship with the rest of the world. So it's not only economic benefit, but it's also there is also a political and diplomatic benefit in this arrangement. So, for example, now in Rwanda, we've established a financial center to serve the rest of Africa. So we get skilled people from all over Africa and beyond to establish that center, which will be facilitating financial transactions and engagements in the continent. We're trying also to do the same for, you saw how it was difficult for Africans to get vaccines for COVID, where like on the queue, they would first serve themselves and then we come last. So in collaboration with other partners, we are establishing this hub in Rwanda to produce vaccines, including COVID and others, for the continent. And this is happening even in other parts of the continent. So we have some here, we have others, so that internally as Africans we can have this free movement of goods and services and investments. So I think this is going to fit very well in the vision 2063 of the Africa we want. Yeah.
Thank you. And you mentioned earlier to a number of MOUs signed between Rwandan and Zimbabwean organizations. And in 2021, the Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries and Rwanda's private sector signed agreements in various areas. Could you kindly unpack some of these agreements?
Yes, here in Zimbabwe, we have the manufacturing sector, which not only serves people of Zimbabwe, but also exports products. But they also require raw materials. And the Rwandan side, they also have, the private sector is engaged in local production for export and for local consumption. But they're also involved in the importation of goods. So what the agreement they have between Private Sector Federation of Rwanda and the CZI is to, first of all, share experiences, to collaborate to promote the private sector activities in both sides.
Your Excellency, I might have to cut you off there, and then you continue to unpack it in our second segment. Join us in our final and third segment of the Diplomat Couch. Welcome back to the third and final segment of the Diplomatic Couch, where we are privileged to be joined by the Ambassador of Rwanda to Zimbabwe, James MUSONI. And earlier he was discussing MOUs and agreements signed between CZI and Rwanda's private sector. Would you kindly continue what you were explaining?
Yes, the agreement provides a framework for both entities to share best practices, to jointly organize conferences, and again, encourage their members to do businesses together. So recently, actually late last year, the CZI organized a conference that and invited Rwandan counterparts, and they came with a delegation of about 30 key private actors from Rwanda. They were here, they visited different companies, and they even made some arrangements, joint venture, supply of raw materials, supply of equipment and others. So they agreed to be working together and complementing each other.
Thank you. And then in a move to cover the skills gap, Rwanda recruited Zimbabwean teachers. What is your general appreciation of Zimbabwe's education system, and what pushed the Rwandan government to recruit Zimbabwean teachers?
Yes, first of all, I would want to really commend the government of Zimbabwe and the people of Zimbabwe for their great achievement in the human capital development. I think Zimbabwe is among the best countries that have put in place a very strong and functioning education system. And in that collaboration framework, what we also do is where you have some advantage, you share it with your counterparts. So like it's here in Zimbabwe because of that good performance of the education sector, and in Rwanda because of our agenda to make sure that Rwanda is a hub for different sectors, be it in the financial sector, be it in medical, be it in different other sectors. You need skills. And Rwanda is a bilingual country. We speak French, we speak English. So we thought of strengthening our education system so that we can produce those skills in accounting, in engineering, and many. So to be able to do that, we've been able to identify a resource for people, not only from Rwanda, but from outside. So in that spirit, that's how we approached Actually, this was announced by our president, His Excellency Paul Kagame, in the Trade and Investment Conference that happened in Rwanda. He mentioned that we would be happy to have skills from Zimbabwe to train our teachers. So the appreciation we have today is the team that is on the ground from here. They are doing a great job. So we can't thank you enough for giving us these wonderful people.
It's good to hear that. Yeah. And currently research suggests that Rwanda is the second best place for business in Africa. Some say it's the star child of Africa. So what are some of the key pointers that have led to the economy's sustainability, and what are some of the strategic sectors in Rwanda?
Yeah, sure. We have been subject to assessments by World Bank and doing business for some time, I think more than 10 years now. And the assessment always shows that Rwanda's doing business environment is one of the best. And actually, we beat not only Africa, but in some other parts of the developed world when it comes to specific areas like starting a business, where you need just a few hours to start a business, opening an account, you know. The success factor has been a combination of so many factors. One being good governance and good leadership. And our president, His Excellency Paul Kagame, who is referred by many as the CEO of Rwanda Inc., meaning he's governing Rwanda like a private, in the private sector, like principles, whereby speed is very important, the way you services delivered, the government efficiency and effectiveness, as well as Rwanda is has a low risk level in terms of corruption. Corruption levels are very low. In terms of security, it's a very secure country. In terms of service delivery, where you go to seek for registration of the company, other services you would want, things move fast because of that set of government systems that are efficient. The second point is enabling environment in terms of legal framework. So whereby reforms have been made and continuously are made to ensure that private actors are really facilitated to do their businesses with minimum costs. And the sectors that are very interesting and strategic, I would say manufacturing, agriculture, service sector. You know, as I said, we want to be a financial hub. We have a very good tourism sector that is doing well. And Rwanda is in the middle of Eastern Africa. So when you're investing in Rwanda, you have access to the entire region. So you find that manufacturing, you don't only manufacture for domestic market, then there is the services, there is mining, there's infrastructure development. So all these sectors have good potentials for doing business.
Thank you for that, Your Excellency. It's been a very enlightening interview. And any parting words?
Just thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about our relation with this great nation of Zimbabwe. And just to encourage private sector of both countries to take advantage of existing cordial relationship between our two countries, and also encourage people who would want to see cultural exchange, would want to see social exchange. We have teachers from here in Rwanda, we have People are doing business there. We have Rwandans doing the same here. So we want more interaction, more exchanges, and then have Zimbabwe-Rwanda relations continue to grow and grow for the mutual benefit of our peoples.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. That was the Ambassador of Rwanda to Zimbabwe, His Excellency James MUSONI, and it's been a pleasure having him on the Diplomat Couch. Until next week's episode, see you.